So welcome to our next session, the Regulatory Edge. And welcome to all the virtual participants. Please, if you have any questions, put them in the chat. We're happy to have you here as well. First, I would like to take an opportunity. I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Carrie Lee. I'm the Senior Director of Regulatory Affairs at NIPR. And I have a question. Can you actually see me? I'm not sure you can. I'm really short, so we were making jokes that you might only be able to see my eyes, and that might be kind of awkward. And there's no little stand behind me, so if that's an issue, hopefully it's not too distracting. Let me take an opportunity to tell you what we're going to talk about today. This session is really going to be the highlight for me of the regulators telling us how they are streamlining their licensing processes. And it piggybacks perfectly to the session, if any of you attended yesterday, where the industry panelists were talking about the friction. It doesn't have to be this hard, right? But it is this hard. And so today we are going to hear from our panelists who are going to tell us how they are leveraging NIPR to improve and streamline their back office systems. And that in turn helps them, and it also helps our industry customers. So first, I'm going to start with Jason Flanagan. Jason, stand up. He's our Senior Compliance Specialist for the state of Oregon. And what I love about Jason is Jason has a lot of energy. He's going to tell us, I'm going to ask him a question about all the work that he's done in his state to make change. And it is hard. And he's got some really good information to share with us. He's been with the department for 7 years. And that does make you a veteran. I think that's 7 years is definitely a veteran. And I'm really happy that you agreed to be on our panel this morning. Next, let's introduce Tracy Cunningham. So Tracy is, she oversees the Maine licensing division, which is quite small. So Tracy, how many people do you have on your staff?
4.
4. And that's what makes Maine really unique. And I'm really happy to have you on this panel because she has no other option but to streamline. She only has 4 people. So what I'm really excited, Tracy, is you've been with the department for over 20 years. That makes her truly the longest veteran on our panel. And NIPR has worked so closely with the state of Maine. We've been there twice in the last year and a half, our team has. And the reason we've been there so often is because Tracy's pretty passionate about streamlining licensing. And so I can't wait to hear what you have to say. And then next on our panel, Courtney Kotobash. And okay, I've got some interesting stuff about you, Courtney, I gotta share. So Courtney was actually an insurance agent for 10 years. So she's lived the other side of this. When you had to go renew your license it was at NIPR.com, right? But so Courtney has lived that world. But what also is really kind of special about Courtney is, as a regulator, she is pretty passionate about helping consumers. And we've heard, Karen Hornig talked about that. That's our mission, is to help consumers. And one of the things that she did in the Moore tornado that hit Oklahoma in 2013 is she set up the emergency adjuster, get the adjusters on the ground to help those consumers. And she did that all on her own. That's a huge, huge, huge task. Of course, NIPR was there to help however we could. But Courtney also gives back to each of you. She serves as the NEIC Producer Licensing Uniformity Working Group Chair. It is a thankless position, but it is so needed. And thank you for pushing for uniformity. Everyone wants that same goal. So your efforts they don't go unnoticed. Next, we have Monica Richmeyer. and she's so funny because she's like, how you remember my last name is Rich. I'm not rich. And I love it. I will never forget it. I will never forget it. But Monica is the licensing director in the state of Kansas. And she is, again, this is another interesting story. I love these stories about our regulators and where they came from. But Monica, she's been with the department since 2021, so you're the newest of our panelists, the newest of our regulators. But her background set her up perfectly to be the licensing director because prior to coming to the department, Monica was not only a police dispatcher, she was also a patrol officer, but for 10 years, she was a special agent. Like, I wanted to ask her, like, FBI agent, what kind of agent? But she, like, 007, we'll do that afterwards in the questions. But Monica, you have worked with NIPR endlessly to improve your licensing processes. We can't thank you enough. You've been our test case several times. So we really appreciate it. Okay. So now that we know that we have these amazing group of regulators, let's ask them a couple questions. The first question I have for you, each of your states went live, I think it was between like October and February or last year, for contact change requests for business entities. This is a new functionality that NIPR put in place, and what it allows is for our business entities to change their physical addresses, their emails, and their phone numbers electronically. And this is a big step in the right direction to reducing the friction and making it easier for our business entities to do their work and update this information. And I wanted to ask each of you, how has that experience been since you've went live? What did you used to do prior? Like, if one of you says fax machine, I'm not going to be surprised. But how did you handle getting those changes prior to implementing CCR for business entities, and what has it done to streamline and reduce friction? And let's start at the end. We'll start with Monica.
Starting at the end first. All right, so prior to using the contact change request for business entities through NIPR, it was a manual process by department staff, manually updating addresses and ensuring that the files would stay accurate. So once we streamlined the NIPR, we were able to reduce staff by taking the time to do a manual update that the producer's already entering in themselves to get to the department, and it makes it very quick and easy for them to update their license and then keep that accuracy of contact information. We all know how important it is that a licensee keeps their contact information accurate, especially for our consumer complaints, so that we can contact them or anytime a regulator may have questions or a consumer. So it also reduced the amount of error that a DOI staff member would incur by manually conducting these updates. And then it also was an easy tracking process when they were able to go through NIPR and submit those transactions. We can then go pull those ourselves if there was ever a question on who changed that contact information. And using it through electronic process allows the human skill to be used where it really can impact our departments with things that we can't streamline and make electronic processing. So that would be how the Department of Insurance has utilized this feature.
Thank you, Monica. Courtney, how's your experience been?
Well, I think one of the best things that happened was that we rolled out the individual program first. Because when we rolled out the business entity change program, I mean, there was really no change within the department. I mean, the whole CCR program has been it's been fantastic for us. Prior to CCR, like Monica and probably everyone else up here, it was a full paper process. It had to be emailed to us, it had to be mailed to us, it had to be faxed to us, it had to be chiseled into stone tablets and dropped off by pterodactyl. So, I mean, it allowed me, with my staff, it allowed me to literally free up a full person that was handling paper transactions when we converted for the individuals, and then the business entity, it just freed up a lot of time for my staff member that handles the business applications or with the business applications coming in. When it's mailed in, there's a lot of extra steps that actually affect the department that are outside of the licensing division. You have the mailroom that's involved. You have, the front desk that's involved. So if things are dropped off, so it's just been really great. We really like it. We really love that when we get the phone calls, that we can direct them over to the CCR program. They have something, they can track it. I can't rave about it enough. It's a great system. So if have all states rolled out for it now?
Not all states have it yet.
Do it. You guys really should do it. It really is great. Even if you take it piece by piece and do individuals first and then entities later, but it's super easy to use. It's a great little format for address changes.
Thank you, Courtney. I appreciate this. This is the streamlining that needs to happen in licensing. So Tracy, when you only have 4 staff, what was this like prior?
Yeah, so the 4 staff, that includes me. So, we are small. We are capable. It's been great. We used to get, all the calls. Why can't I change my address online from the business entities? So we went live with CCRs for business entities on December 13th of 2024. Since then, we've had over 1,400 electronic transactions submitted for CCRs. So for one staff member that handles those, that's been huge, coming off from her plate. So it's great.
That's what we like to hear. And imagine what that's like for the industry. There's like, oh, thank goodness, right? We're headed in the right direction. Jason, what's been your experience in your department?
Yeah, so I've been witness to, when I started with the department in 2019, we had a lot of manual processes. And so I've watched as these NIPR products have come along, things like contact changes has really freed up my staff from doing these sort of administrative things that are important and have to be done, but it allows them to focus more of their attention on the things that they need to really focus on, like reviewing criminal background reviews and processing applications, because we don't get a lot of phone calls for people that are upset that their contact change wasn't done, within the last 5 hours. We do get phone calls when people's applications haven't been worked on. So to lessen these sort of administrative tasks that have to be done, but to lessen that workload on the staff has been a huge benefit for us.
This is wonderful to hear, and I also want to give a big shout out to the NIPR product team, our state product team, who put this into place for us, and then our state affairs team, who actually met with you guys, gathered how you wanted this to work, and then we were able to implement it for you, because this is really where we need to go. This is one step in a lot of this is part of the wish list, right? And let me talk about the next wish list. If you were in the session yesterday, Karen Hornig, our CEO, asked the panelists what was the thing they wanted from the industry, what was their wish list. And Wes Bissett from the Big I said, DRLP. Oh geez, there's one line in the code, and boy, is this complicated around the country. The next thing I want to talk about actually does relate to DRLP and demographic changes. So we also created a more streamlined process for updating demographics, and that's not only the DRLP, because most states require you to have one, as that person the state can go after and be responsible for that agency, but also the demographics for when names are changed. And as we know, that's generally women who have to change their names for getting, when they get married or if they get divorced. So it really is another wonderful enhancement that we've made. And I wanted to ask each of you, how that has impacted. I know DRLP, usually that has to be done in most states, not every state, within 30 days if there's going to be a change. It's always a point of friction. And industry's not always clear how to do that. So I want to ask how our functionality has helped you with that. But then also, when you do require additional documents for a name change, or if you have additional documents for DRLP that you require on file, how are you leveraging NIPR to bring that information in? And let's start with Jason.
Yeah, so in Oregon for a name change, we don't really require any additional documentation. I mean, if you send in something saying you're the Hamburglar, we're gonna call you the Hamburglar. Because and then we just attach a document that you sent in, that you scratched in crayon onto some form to the license, so that if anybody asks, why is this person called the Hamburglar, we can point to, well, this is when they told us that's what they are, that's who they are. So, but changing all that to electronic has also, again, it's increased our accuracy, because ultimately the producer putting that stuff into that information into NIPR, they're responsible. So if they misspell something, when they call, my name's misspelled,
Yes.
cool, you're gonna have to do another one because we didn't make that up. And so it kind of it gives you a record of what happened, and it's the same as with the contact changes. It lessens the administrative burden of my staff in these administrative tasks, so they can focus on things that are more important to protecting consumers.
Yeah, yes, I would echo what Jason said. We do not require any additional supporting documents either. But again, my same staff member handles the name changes as well. And we went live with name changes again in December of 2024. We've received over 1,200, or just about 1,200 of those. In 2024, she processed over 1,000 of those manually herself. So, I'm not putting her out of a job because we inherited a massive backlog of things that just have not been done in years. So in hoping to streamline these other processes, now we can start playing catch up on some of the other things that need attention at this point. We're not currently set up for the DRLP changes through NIPR. We do offer that through our website currently, but I'm in hopes that when we convert to SBS, that we'll get DRLP through NIPR as well.
Absolutely. We'll work with you.
I know you will.
Courtney?
So we love it. We love the name change option available. We do have documentation that has to be provided, but one thing that if I don't say it now, I'm going to forget. We still have a paper process for name changes as well, because I was a little hesitant about diving straight in and removing our paper option from our website. So until around January 1st, I think at the first of the year, I think we're really comfortable with the NIPR name change system. So we'll transition and take down our paper process from the webpage and fully direct everyone to NIPR. It is a great system. It is very, we're very thankful that NIPR allows us to enter in specific information, because in Oklahoma you have to provide supplemental documentation to change your name. That supplemental documentation is what we use. We use the date that's provided on the information. We will accept a marriage certificate, an official court order, a divorce decree, a valid driver's license, a social security card, and for entities amended articles. Now, if you want to provide all of those documents, cool. We're going to take the newest date is what we're going to look at as your date that the name change will be effective. If that is 30 days in the past, you have to pay a $50 administrative fee with your name change. It's in the statute. It's not because we're mean. It's not because we're punitive. It is just part of the law. So I think that since we've rolled out the electronic version of this, I don't want to say it's culled any escalations, because we're still going to have people that send stuff in and get upset that the fee is required. So then they contact us. But it definitely has freed up a lot of time for staff, because you're not spending time at the scanner converting mailed-in documents. You're not spending a lot of the extra administrative time just creating files that can be saved in SBS. It all comes in through NIPR. You can review it right there in the transaction manager. My staff love it. I love it too. But please just note that we will be fully electronic for name changes after the first of the year. So delete your name change request form that you've saved on your laptop.
Yes.
So Courtney, that is music to our ears, fully electronic. Okay, Monica?
So we love both features. It is fantastic. One, with the name changes, we require documentation for our residents. We, of course, are the home state, and we want to make sure that we are ensuring that we have their legal name and we know who really holds that license. So if they want to be the hamburger, then they can go ahead and request that as a DBA. We'll add it to the license there, but we would like to keep the official license name. And supporting documentation is pretty simple, kind of like Oklahoma. Marriage certificate, death certificate, or not a death, just kidding. For ordered records, for a name change, we'll stick there. And then with the DLRP changes, what I think is great about DLRP changes is it is our job to help them stay compliant, and we want them to stay compliant. They want to be compliant, most of them, and the easier it is for them, the easier it is for us. And so what I really encourage is somebody looks at the feature, the name change or the business rule or the DLRP. We just work our business rules, and we work with NIPR staff to get the end result that we actually need. So with name changes, we have all of our non-residents. It'll check PDB that the home state updated that name first, and then it'll update the name automatically because it'll check those records. Those home state requests, we want to see those. So our business rules send that transaction to us to request that and then get the additional documentation. And with the DLRP, what is great is that it would be really easy for a individual to go in and, let's say, remove a DLRP because they're no longer the DLRP or they're switching DLRPs. But it also, the way our business rules are set up, will require you to add a DLRP. It won't allow the license to go without a DLRP. So you can flip them, you can switch them, you can add one, but at the end of the day, it's still helping maintain compliance for that license and ensuring that whoever they want that DLRP to be and responsible for that license is that person. And we don't have to do all of that ourselves. That is things that they can do on their own, and it is also something that is tracked. Again, we can go pull those records and see who did it if there was something in question, but it helps them maintain their license and do everything we want them to do at a click of a button.
Again, this is excellent. So for states that want to do that, we do have our state relationship account managers here in the audience. So please come up and see me and I'll get you in touch with our state relationship account managers. So let's talk about CE. CE is one of those things that we all know that we get the calls when you work in a licensing department, and your staff will get these calls usually at the day before the CE, actually the day of, right? Like you have to renew your license that day. And there'll be a lot of producers that might wait to the last minute and they're going to wonder why their CE hasn't, populated for the course they took 1 minute ago. This is a very common scenario, and everyone's shocked that it's not as seamless as everyone would hope it to be, but we are making progress. One of the things that we were able to do for many states this year is to make the CE transcripts something that a producer can view in the actual application at the time of renewal. So you can click and you can see, am I CE compliant? And that small functionality, just having that all in that same process so you don't have to jump out and go look somewhere else, we think is a huge benefit. But what we want to hear, has that been a huge benefit? Has it reduced calls? You're always going to get that, my credits aren't there yet, even though I took the course 1 minute ago and it was, 24 credits and it took me 5 seconds to take the course, but that's another issue. Jason, how is this helping for you? And Courtney, I know, and Monica all have this, but Tracy, I don't know if you have a CE lookup, but we're talking about that. Jason, how's it working for you?
Yeah, so since we since we got that turned on with NIPR, we've seen a tangible reduction in calls to our call center. We used to get, particularly towards the end of the month, where you have all the people that had forgotten about CE for the past 2 years, would want to call in and then figure out why they couldn't renew, and then we'd have to research that. Well, now they can access it through NIPR. They can access it by doing their license lookup to SBS's public portal. So we actually, when that went live, we saw a tangible decrease in phone calls at the end of every single month with people asking these questions.
That's again, that's the goal, reduce the work.
And with Oregon, my staff that's working on applications is also taking phone calls. And so we regularly have to tell people, how long is this going to take? Well, it depends on how long this phone call takes, because the longer we're on the phone, the less time we're processing applications, and the more people, if you use these tools, so that's why we direct them, if you go to NIPR, you can look at this, and then you don't have to call us, and then we don't have to interrupt what we're doing to answer your questions. We can just keep working on applications, and that's been a big help for us.
That's definitely a good message. If you don't call us, you might get your license faster. Tracy, I know you don't have this functionality right now. She's sad. You don't have this right now.
No, we don't know.
So are people constantly calling, asking, hey, can you look up my CE for me?
Yes, they are. We do have a CE lookup tool on our website. When they do a licensee search, they can see their current CE cycle information. So it'll show them how many credits they owe, how much they've acquired already, what courses they've taken. We lead them to that, but we'll also answer their questions when they call. What we don't have is the ability for them to see their entire historical CE transcript through the website. They can call and request that from us because, when did I take my annuity training? 10 years ago, am I compliant with that? So we can process that for them, but we do not have it set up through NIPR currently.
We hope to be able to help you in this next year.
I'll be honest with you, I didn't even know about it before this.
She's learning for the first time. Okay, this is good. This is what we're hoping.
Yeah.
This is what we're hoping. Okay, so Courtney, how is this working for you? Is this helping?
Well, I think that we're going to have a demographic of callers no matter what, right? First of all, I would like to give a little shout out to 50% of my call center is here in the room, Dahlia. So I think that no matter what, we're going to have a whole demographic of individuals that are going to call us before they're checking anything for their CE. Now, the first thing in Oklahoma that we direct our callers to is SBS, because we are a proud SBS state. Sorry, NIPR, but we love them. So we do have instructions. We direct them there. But now with NIPR also having the transcript and the app, we have 3 options to direct people over to check transcripts out. So I think that we're still going to have those people that are just going to call no matter what, and there's nothing you can do about it. But with having now 3 options to keep up with your courses, it should have reduced calls probably for all of us a little bit.
That's good. That's good to hear. But you're right. You're right. There is still going to be people who call, and the call center folks that are here, they're going to still call you. They'll be your best friends every other year.
Yes. Well, since we're giving out shout outs here, by the way, I also have 50% of my call center staff here who also process the applications as well, Melissa and Aaron, and then Isabel, who leads the group. So I want to make sure they got a shout out too. So good job, Oklahoma.
I don't have anybody here.
I didn't bring anybody here.
Virtually.
Yes. And I think the rest are virtually as well. That was a good point, Tracy. So what I will mention is that we came on the NIPR and SBS fully in 2022. So prior to 2022, the CE hours were manually inputted by staff. we would get a flood of these certificates. We still get the KC4 form and trying to get us to input hours. So our staff was manually inputting these hours into every producer record so that they could renew their license, which involved clicking a button. And it was still hard sometimes for them. But we have made a lot of progress because now, of course, the CE provider uploads those hours. They get to see their transcript anytime they want to see it. And so we have done a lot of direction to SBS for that meantime while we were in that process of conversion. And then also, of course, once NIPR started putting it on the website as well, it was great because I do feel like we had less calls in reference to a CE transcript. But what I will say is that our associations had less calls about CE to them. And they actually filter sometimes a lot of calls. So the association themselves was making comments about how this was a great impact and how they noticed this change, and it really streamlined even their own operations.
Right, like the Big I, right? Because they, the Big I's in a lot of states do a lot of CE courses, right? And so I'm sure that they were sending people to you.
Yeah, and even just our local state associations that are very involved that we have a great relationship with. It was great to hear their feedback.
Oh, great. That is wonderful. That is wonderful. Anything we can do to help producers stay on top of their CE and not call the call center folks, I'm sure is going to be always beneficial, and making it easier for everyone just to be able to look at this stuff themselves, right? And as Jason said, if we can drive producers to do that, then guess what? All the other work is going to get done faster. The stuff they really care about, review my license right now. So thank you guys for that. The next question I wanted to ask you is, it centers around the NIPR Commissioner Dashboard. We talked about this in several sessions over the course of the summit about our dashboard, and actually the dashboard was created at an E-Reg conference. So any hands up here do you remember E-Reg, which was this? There was a discussion at one of these sessions that NIPR create a way to help highlight uniformity and drive uniformity. So we created this dashboard, right? And in the dashboard, we came up with 6 items that, we were like, these would be things that would really move the needle and get us closer to uniformity. And there are things like biennial birth month renewal. It'd be great if all states did it at the same time. The 90-day renewal periods, if everyone had that 90 days instead of some have 60, some have 120, or for different license classes have different renewal periods. It gets crazy. And it's really hard for the industry. We heard this yesterday. They mentioned this, death by 1,000 cuts. If you've got a license in every single jurisdiction and all the renewal dates are different, now you have to hire an outside firm to help you just so you don't mess that up because it's just too complicated. And so to that dashboard, which we send to licensing directors, you've all received it, but we also send it to commissioners to help you streamline and go to your commissioners with ideas of how to, streamline licensing in general. So this next question is about that. We're going to start with Jason because he's been working really hard in the state of Oregon. And I want you to tell our audience about the work that you've done on adjuster licensing and how you have been able to successfully redo your code, push this to the legislature. Walk us through this.
Yeah, so when I started, I started with working on producer licensing applications. We had one person that did adjuster licensing, and she made it sound like it was the most difficult thing in the whole world. And as I sort of started looking into it, I realized that there's a lot of adjuster licensing that's kind of a dumpster fire that you have to figure out. There's so many different regulations in different states. And for Oregon, we were an independent adjuster state. We have an exemption for staff adjusters. But it became increasingly clear that we could be vastly benefited by having a public adjuster license class. And so I started that. I want to say I submitted it in 2020 as a legislative concept, and then the powers to be determined that it could be done by rulemaking. And I said, that's fine. I don't care how it gets done. I just care that it be done. So moving for a while, nothing really happened. And so I kept prodding and poking and prodding. And, you know, I would say as a regulator, NIPR has a lot of powerful tools. State-based systems has a lot of powerful tools, but the best tool that you have as a regulator is caring. You have to care about something. You have to decide that this is important. And then the second best tool you have is perseverance. And that can be the range that I have, for perseverance to sugar-coated stubbornness to a genuine pain in the ass. And that it took all of those for me to get the public adjuster licensing in Oregon across the finish line. There were times I went through 3 different managers, and every one of them bought in and supported me, but there were times where I felt like I was the only person in Oregon that cared about it. And that was okay. I wasn't going to give up because I'm stubborn. And so we kept pushing and pushing and pushing. We finally completed the rulemaking. And so once that was done, that gave me the opportunity to get with Tatiana and say, you know what, let's take a look at our business rules that probably haven't been touched since 2012 when we went live with electronic licensing. And we did, I mean, Tatiana can speak to that. We went through a comprehensive review of every single one of our business rules because they hadn't been touched in a long time. We got rid of non-uniform questions. We went through, basically it was like, why are these applications pending? We had 100% of our adjuster applications pending to us for manual review. Why? It didn't make any sense why that was the case. So that's the questions you have to ask is, why are we doing this? Can you leverage NIPR tools to eliminate these sorts of things, to lessen the workflow on your staff so that they can focus on the things that truly matter? And we've done that. So now I think the last time I looked at the data analytics, I think we're having between 75 and 78% of the applications that are submitted to the state of Oregon are automatically processed by the NIPR system. So that means the only ones that we're really seeing are ones that have yes answers to background questions, have administrative actions or 1033s detected, or have some kind of a license type that NIPR doesn't have the ability to track yet. Things like managed general agents, you know, those sorts of things. And it's been, I've seen the improvement with my staff. They're not having to spend a bunch of time doing applications that there's no reason for us to actually touch them. It's better for the producers, it's better for the adjusters, it really is better for everybody because it really has streamlined the process. And we saw from when our business rules went live, there's been a couple hiccups we've had to change, but when you do such a comprehensive overhaul, it's not going to be perfect. I mean, it isn't, but that's okay. It was probably 90% or 95% perfect, and within the next few weeks, it'll probably be 100% perfect. So it was a hard struggle, but it was a valuable one, and I think that it's been very beneficial to my staff. I think it's good for the division, it's good for the people of Oregon, and I think it's good for everybody that works with us in Oregon.
That's really interesting how it started with the public adjuster, but then when you sat down with our team, with Tatiana and our state relationship folks that work with her, you were able then to look through all of your rules, right? Mm-hmm. And when you did that, then you were able to say, okay, where can I streamline in here without having to change code or statute, right?
Right. Well, why change just the one thing and add a public adjuster license class when you can open the whole thing up and really go through it? And I recommend if you haven't looked at your business rules with NIPR recently, you should. Mm-hmm. Because there's probably all kinds of outdated stuff in there that doesn't make sense. And when you can jettison that and let the technology of NIPR, that platform, do more of that work, I mean, it's beneficial for everybody.
I like that word, jettison. So Tracy, I think we've done the same thing with you, so I wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah, so the first thing I would say is if you don't know what the dashboard is, reach out to Tiffany, I'm gonna call you out. She will hook you up with it. It was really eye-opening to see it in color with all the pretty check marks and the not so pretty X's or things that you're not compliant with. I wasn't familiar with the dashboard until I took over this position. So it really brought it into perspective, like, okay, what are some of the things on this list? I mean, we were doing pretty good, but we still had some work to do. So, you know, what on that list can we tackle first that's not gonna require some type of statutory change or rule change? So that's kind of where my thought process started. What's gonna be the easiest changes? So once they provided me with that information, they were amazing. They were on site, since I've been there 4 years, they've been on site twice, and have received countless emails from me. We went and did a complete overhaul of our adjuster business rules as well, which haven't gone into place yet. That'll happen with the conversion. There were just a lot of things that we had started things in the works, and then we had a complete changing of the guard in our office. So things were kind of dropped off and left, and with the pandemic and all kinds of those things. So they were completely receptive to me saying, hey, what do I need to do? What can you guys do to help me? In the conjunction with that, them coming to us and working with us directly, we've gotten some more green check marks on our dashboard, and we hope to get even more once we get this conversion completed. So
That's great.
Utilize the staff.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the things we did at NIPR that we started last year, actually, is we assigned, every state has a state relationship account manager, and the reason that you have one is we have the number of rules that we have for states, it's mind-boggling, and you really do need to be an expert to help, right? So each of the states now have a state relationship account manager dedicated to understand and to help. And that is really, I think, also driving this out, because now you know who your person.
People.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tatiana, you're stuck with me.
So Tatiana got called out there, Michelle Wilson, we get called out for Maine. And so Courtney, what's been your experience? I know you've also, both Courtney and Monica are really big on looking at their rules, and so what's been your experience over the last couple of years? Have you made changes?
With our business rules?
Or in legislative changes?
We make a lot of changes. Well, we try every year to have, a sit down with NIPR to review the rules. And it with COVID, it kind of threw everything off schedule. Everything got wacky. But every year, and that's a big recommendation to any regulator out there, you need to set every year, every other year, a time where you're sitting down with your staff, you're discussing each rule step by step to make sure that it is still working for your team. And then if it's not working for your team, then bring in NIPR and, initially have those conversations to find solutions to see if it can be tweaked or changed so it will work for your team. A lot of times you might find that it's the best option we have right now, nothing's going to change. But, if you're looking at it routinely next time around, maybe there is a change or a fix in place where the rules could be tweaked to, help you. It is possible as you're going through to bit by bit and piece by piece, set your business rules to where applications that need little review can automatically process and never come across your desk. And that's going to save your staff a lot of time.
Yes, and those applications that go through cleanly, those folks that are submitting that application get their license pretty fast, usually within less than 15 minutes. We've seen it as short as 2 hours. So that's a huge change.
I would like to also say, as the chair of the producer licensing working group, I am very fortunate to be able to speak to regulators all the time about uniformity. And NIPR, I will say that I can confidently say to you that maybe Commissioner Dashboard, the sequel, is something that, in the future is something that a lot of us regulators are really looking forward to take the sequel and see what we can do to start building towards uniformity with that as well.
Still gotta get through the first
Oh, yeah. I know, but we're excited about this. Let's keep going. We just picked the easiest 6, which weren't so easy, but we're happy to add to that list. That would be that is a wonderful idea. So I do want to ask Monica about Kansas, because Kansas did go through a pretty big legislative session and had some effects on your department. Namely, they will not be doing appointment renewals.
Oh, yeah.
I have to bring it up. In that legislation, I mean, how did that go down? What did you need to provide to your commissioner during that process? Was there anything else in that legislation that came back to affect your division?
Well, one, I will just mention that this might not make everybody happy in the room, but I work for Commissioner Vicki Schmidt, of course, with Kansas, and she's the best commissioner, and I work at the best Department of Insurance. I do tell people in interviews that I go to Disneyland every day to work, and I really believe that. So I am blessed to have a leadership who is really about making it easy and streamlined and efficient, and that we're reducing the cost of doing business, and if we are charging, it makes sense. So I'm lucky there, and it was kind of interesting. So of course the company appointment renewals, you know, company appointments are to protect our consumers, right? Like at the end of the day, this is why we do that. This is why we all do what we're doing in whatever fashion that we are doing any type of licensing. But at the same time, you know, companies tend to have a decent grasp on ensuring that they're properly appointed in Kansas or terminating them when they're not. And as much as I hope that they're keeping track when a producer loses their license through just, you know, inactive status, that they're still keeping track of that. But at the end of the day, the burdensome of submitting paperwork and submitting all the paperwork and then paying the industry's $6 million in fees to Kansas a year for company appointment renewals was just something that did not appear to fit and work for Kansas. It was one of those things that we were trying to reduce the cost of doing business, and that was an area where we could still maintain consumer compliance and we could still maintain having that relationship with the companies, but still, you know, knowing who was doing business for what companies, but eliminating one more step or one more cost that could be efficient to us. So I'm sorry, NIPR, because that means we're not going to work together in December this year, and I do appreciate that relationship. So that's one way it has affected the business of the licensing division, is that I will find a new business rule that we can still get together on and discuss and be more efficient in other areas. But with that, it is just one step that, again, allows the Department of Insurance and allows the licensing team to focus on the real impactful things that are affecting our consumers and are affecting our consumers. Do I want to spend time on the person who just committed homicide and that we need to get that license revoked, or do I want to just go through a renewal process when generally our companies are doing pretty well overall with that? So for me, unfortunately, I don't have a lot of advice for the rest of you because I naturally came into an amazing leadership that's always looking to make us efficient and has done that for years.
Thank you for sharing that. Really appreciate it. And we don't have a lot of time left, but my final question is this, and you got to answer it kind of short. So like 3 words or less. If there was one thing you could modernize in producer licensing, what would it be? Who wants to go first?
Oh, I'll just take it since we're short on time. So with that, I was sit on the industry panel, and I would say modernizing the state move process. I think all of us can maybe get on board with that one, and I'll be done.
I'm just going to agree with Monica on that one.
Thank you.
Oh, we've got 2.
Resident
Tracy?
state changes.
That was my original answer, but I changed it. Now that they've brought it up, I don't need to. So I know this has to be quick, but we are in the midst of an investigation that NIPR has been amazing helping us with, getting us data that we needed. And during that process, we discovered that address validations aren't happening during the application process, so that's on our wish list.
For us, it would be the same thing that you've done with electronic DRLP updates. Let's do affiliations that way.
Good answers. Thank you all for sharing your insights today. Let's give a round of applause to our regulators.
Good job. Good job. You look really pretty today.